Yo, what's up? I'm your friendly neighborhood sassy blonde writer. I like to name inanimate objects. What do you like to do in your spare time? So I decided to break my hiatus from filming because, well, I had the day off, my hair looked good, and I had opinions that I felt needed to be shared. So here I am. I'm wearing my Pour One Out for the Ghost Homies t-shirt, which you can get one of your very own if you go to my Redbubble store, The Snack Shop. Why is it called The Snack Shop? Honestly, I could do a whole video about that, but I don't feel like doing that right now. Today, we are going to be talking about Hallmark movies. Now, why am I talking about Hallmark movies right now? I mean, it's not Christmas season. Well, maybe I'll premiere this video when it is Christmas season and capitalize on that stuff, maybe. I came up with this idea to do this video on Hallmark movies and like their Hallmark movie formula. While I was watching a bunch of really corny holiday movies on a plane, I had many beverages, and there was one where I literally fell asleep while I was trying to watch it, but that's a separate story. I don't even remember the name. But yeah, so I find Hallmark movies really interesting because, like, everybody loves to hate on them. Like, there's so many memes about how bad they are. And, like, don't get me wrong, this is not high-quality cinema. This is not you're not going to find the next Citizen Kane on a Hallmark movie. But I will say there is something that's very fun about them, especially around the holidays. I mean, half the time I watch them, it's because I'm feeling nostalgic during the holidays. And so I like weirdly enjoy them. I guess I ironically enjoy them, but then sometimes it's sincere. I don't know, we kind of cross that line every now and then. But anyway, before we dive on into everything, just gotta do my little spiel. So, welcome to my channel. I like to post videos. When will they come out? Who knows? But I like to make videos on writing. I like to make videos on any type of storytelling. So that means I like to talk about movies, TV shows, books, short stories, screenplays, plays, musicals, video games. I have a lot of interests. I'm very eclectic. My tastes are very eclectic, and if you've watched my old videos of my bookshelf, you can probably tell that right away. So if you're interested in any of that, please subscribe. And if you think I say funny words and you'd like them on a t-shirt, let me know in the comments, and or maybe it's already on Redbubble and you too can have your own Sassy Blonde merch. Alright, so let's talk about Hallmark movies. So what do they always have in common? They always have main themes are always about either spending time with family or the spirit of giving and love that always takes place during the holidays. It's kind of funny because they never really have anything to do with like Christmas as a holiday, but they always have to do about the things around Christmas. And that's what I think is really interesting. But also they are sponsored by the holiday card industry because Hallmark makes cards, so do with that what you will. A lot of times the stories are based off of novels, which I found was really interesting when I was doing my research for this video. I don't know what I was expecting, but I guess I just wasn't expecting that. So in one of my previous videos on story structure, we talked about the milieu story, which is when the story is really all about the setting. It's not really about the characters necessarily. So a lot of times in milieu stories, like Gulliver's Travels, you have Narnia, obviously, and then Alice in Wonderland, and I consider Handmaid's Tale and 1984 also milieu stories because the setting is the main character of the film. It's not really the person telling the story. So one type of milieu story is a portal fantasy. That's something like Narnia or Alice in Wonderland, where you are in your regular everyday world and then you are transported to this magical place. So in this case, that world is your everyday world is urban America where you're trying to go, not really thinking about family or holidays or anything like that. You're just trying to get that money, make that cheddar. And then you are transported to this different world, which is small town middle America Christmas. Bonus points if there is a small town festival or your family does a huge Christmas party that basically the entire town is invited to. Except for that one where there are like several where there's like a castle in England. My dad loves the one with Roger Moore because he is a huge James Bond fan. Honestly, that one's kind of my favorite too, but that's a separate story. Also, the acting in these stories is always a solid like B. Sometimes the worst is like a B minus, the best is like a B plus. Like Meryl Streep's probably not going to be in one of these anytime soon, but I would pay like top dollar to see that. So the characters in the Hallmark movies, it's always very formulaic. So you have the clueless protagonist who either hasn't had the holidays around home in a while, or they're a new addition to the family. A lot of times you get like family members who are adopted. There's one Hallmark movie that's called Hanukkah for the Holidays or something like that, where this girl whose mother who raised her recently passed away and she was adopted. And so then she, because she was adopted, she goes to find her birth parents. And then she finds out that her birth parents are Jewish and that she comes from this lovely family. It's actually like a pretty sweet movie. But anyway, so she is a newer addition to the family who's kind of learning these traditional values, or they're like a friend of somebody who's kind of tagging along for Christmas. So either way, the protagonist is always clueless and always has to learn about the traditions or relearn if they're a family member who hasn't been around in a while. They have to relearn the family traditions. Then you have the love interest, the hometown hunk, who gets the little things in life. Bonus points if the hometown hunk teaches her the true meaning of Christmas, because a lot of times the protagonist is a woman and the hometown hunk is a man. They're also very heteronormative, these movies. So the chances of you having any LGBTQ representation are very slim, and they only recently started featuring, how do I put this, like non-white people in the lead roles, like only very recently. It's very much catering to like Middletown, like middle America white people. So the hometown hunk, they'll either be somebody who just moved there or like took over their family's business. A lot of times a restaurant, one of those businesses is kind of really hard to get off the ground. And sometimes, bonus points if they have like a dog or a kid who is the reason why they have their little meet cute with the clueless protagonist. And the hometown hunk is going to teach the clueless protagonist the true meaning of Christmas. A lot of times they butt heads at first because, this person is from the big city who only cares about money. But a little bit part of them doesn't just care about money. And then you have the hometown hunk who is the opposite. And oftentimes their business isn't doing so hot and they need the clueless protagonist, the clueless but a business savvy protagonist to help them out of their financial funk. Then you have, a lot of times, like a big city guy or girl who only wants money. Sometimes this is the clueless protagonist's significant other, and then they break up, like, towards the end of the movie or, like, halfway through. Or it's their friend or their boss who's kind of, like, keeping their clutches in the clueless protagonist. And they only really care about either getting the work done or making money. As somebody who lives in the city, I always think it's kind of funny how they portray so many people as, like, workaholics. Because if you live in the city, there's a lot of people who there's so many ways to just, like, not be productive in the city. So it's very strange to me that's always the stereotype in these movies where, like, big city equals workaholic and small town equals having fun. I don't understand it. Then you have everyone else in the protagonist's family or their family friend. A lot of times you have like a longtime family friend, but none of them are really that important. The central relationship in a Hallmark movie, and I can't believe I'm using very academic words to talk about this. The third rail of the story is kind of the clues protagonist, falling in love with the hometown hunk, and two, like appreciating the holidays, the spirit of giving and love and being around family. And of course, you also have the back in the real world friend. Now, sometimes this is combined with the big city guy or girl who only wants money, but a lot of times it's just a friend who will, like, they'll call them up for, like, random exposition of, like, what's been going on between scenes to kind of speed things up, because Hallmark movies are so interesting because they're so formulaic, because they're almost always, like, an hour and a half. If they're 2 hours, that's impressive, but usually it's, like, an hour and a half, and because Hallmark is a TV show channel, it's not like streaming or anything where they have these specific like time marks to hit before a commercial. So that's one of the reasons why they're really interesting. But anyway, so you have the back in the real world friend who's usually there to like kind of they'll conveniently call the protagonist and ask a bunch of questions to help like kind of recap what happened during the commercial break. So the way the story works, this is how the formula usually goes. I watched a lot of Hallmark movies and I noticed that this is pretty much the formula they follow. Well, basically the first 5 minutes of the movie is set up. A lot of times they'll have like a cute interaction with like the clues protagonist and like some small business owner in the city to show that they have a heart of gold. They don't support those big corporations. They support the mom and pop shops. Then you have the call to adventure or action, which is usually you need to spend time with your family around the holidays. Or it's the family calling to be like, are we going to see you for Christmas this year? Now, like I said before, it's not always Christmas, but I'm pretty sure Hallmark made exactly one movie that I know of about Hanukkah. So it has to be centered around a holiday, but like if you want to write your own Hallmark movie, nobody's stopping you from making it about Easter or Yom Kippur or Festivus or Arbor Day. You know, you do you, fam. So then there is this like clinging to old life while small town hunk tries to get you to lighten up, or a give, insert something about holidays with family, a chance. A lot of times you have the protagonist who's like, oh, I don't want to go to that festival. I remember going to that festival. We've been there every year. I'm like 30 now. I don't want to go to the same place I went to when I was 12, which like, mood. There's usually 3 times before the halfway mark of the Hallmark movie where there should be some type of romantic moment between the hometown hunk and your clueless protagonist. Then at about the 35-minute mark, some family member should make a remark about someone, either the hometown hunk or the clueless protagonist, needing to settle down. And then a few minutes after, talk about how amazing the holiday is. I find the family members telling you that you need to settle down very relatable, even though I myself am married. For some reason around the holidays, your family families tend to take it upon themselves to ask you very personal questions. Like, when are you thinking about having kids? And it's like, it's literally none of your business. So then after the, you should settle down talk, then they, almost immediately afterwards, they kind of switch gears and they're like, wow, the holidays are amazing. And that's where you get like the whole spiel about holidays. I'm sure a movie for Arbor Day would talk about trees and how great trees are because they give us oxygen and all that fun stuff. I remember one of the lines about Hanukkah. It was literally just like it was a miracle that the oil for Hanukkah lasted 8 days, even though there was only enough for one night. It's literally like a 1-sentence spiel about the holiday and why it's important. Oh, and then the main character, of course, has to struggle to get to do something with the holiday tradition. So sometimes it's setting up a holiday dinner, or sometimes it's like running this festival. A lot of times they do like charity work. Like there's one about Dollywood. Like Dolly Parton is in this movie. What even? I love Dolly Parton, but like, what? The main character has to scramble to put something together for some reason because, you know, even though they haven't been to the holidays in a while, their family's just kind of throwing them into the fire, usually is what happens. So a lot of times I have to do something that's big with the holiday tradition, like a party or a fundraiser or something. It could be literally anything. It could literally just be them cooking dinner. Only when the hometown hunk appears do they actually get the help that they need, and then there's this like bonding moment. 40 minutes in, there is a mild disagreement between the two lovebirds, but then usually the hunk smooths it over. Usually it's because the hunk says something about them being a city slicker, and then of course naturally the protagonist is like, dude, you don't know my life. Or at least they should be. And then the hometown hunk has to smooth it over, usually with some like inside joke from when they were younger, or like an inside joke from like a little bit earlier in the movie that was brought up. Then suddenly there's a midpoint reversal where either something that a parent was responsible that gets put on the kid's plate. First, the main character tries to do something small like setting up the holiday dinner or like getting the lights, and then you have the midpoint reversal where like the parent is like, oh dear, I cannot do this. And of course the kid's like, okay, cool. Why can't my sister do it? Oh no, I have to do it. Oh. Then another plot point is usually where there's something bad going on back in the city in their old life, or like something like a deal fell through. You can always tell whatever's happening is just kind of like business buzzwords. That's all they ever say. Like they never say anything that that's like specific to business, which I always find very interesting. There's always something going wrong right after the protagonist gets this big responsibility just kind of thrown at them. That's when they find out, oh my god, my boss is trying to get me fired so they can get the promotion I was supposed to have. Or, what? They changed the menu at the restaurant I run in the city. Like, that sort of thing. It's really annoying because, like, if you talk to anybody who works at, like, a corporate-y business job, a lot of times over the holidays, they leave you alone unless, like, it's a true emergency. So, like, whatever. So then during this time, a lot of times the protagonist is, like, talking to the hometown hunk, and they're, like, trying to figure out how to make it all work. A lot of times they lean on their back home friend to get the other stuff done, and they lean on the hometown hunk to help a lot more than they were originally going to or really need to with whatever big responsibility their parents kind of threw at them. And then they start to grow closer, and the protagonist starts thinking like, oh, maybe it would be better for me if I stayed here full time and like helped with their business or whatever. And then about 10 minutes before the end, the two lovebirds have a misunderstanding, usually because like the big city person gives the protagonist an ultimatum, and the hometown hunk finds out about it and is like, oh no, she's not gonna pick me. And then they get mad about it, but then the main character is like, no, I'd rather just stay here and work for my family or whatever. And then there's like, it's like a really stupid and preventable misunderstanding, but whatever. So that's like 10 minutes to the end. And then the two lovebirds, they find each other, they clear up the misunderstanding. This is almost always like 5 minutes to the end. And they kiss on Christmas or whatever the holiday is. And then you get like 5 more minutes of like falling action of like, or I guess like it's more resolution. You get like 5 more minutes of like the resolution of like what happened. Oh, and then they ended up like married for like a year. And then she started working at his like pub and like turned the business around or whatever. The end. Why do people love Hallmark movies? Well, I mean, I know I was saying before that they're not you're not going to find the next Citizen Kane. But the thing about Hallmark movies is, who wants to watch Citizen Kane around the holidays? I think the appeal of Hallmark movies, because they're so cheesy, right? Like, we all know that. There's so many Hallmark movie name generators out there. It's not a secret. But I think part of the reason why people like to watch Hallmark movies is because they get the atmosphere of like Christmas and like the hominess, and it's like the movie equivalent of hot chocolate, or like a hot chocolate, like especially with marshmallows, because it's all sweet, it's sugary. Like they're not exactly thought provoking, but that's not why you watch them. So I think part of the appeal is they're very comforting. So another reason why they were really popular, like the past like 3 years specifically, was because people wanted the escapism. So a lot of times current events aren't really addressed in the Hallmark movies, which kind of is what makes them so timeless. Because I mean, if everybody was walking around wearing masks in a Hallmark movie, I'd probably just turn it off and be like, I don't want to think about this. Like, I want to escape with a Hallmark movie, which is why I think they're portal fantasies, and also why I think they're so much fun, because even if you're super stressed out about the holidays, it's very heartwarming to watch them, even though we all know exactly what's going to happen in the end. That is all I have to say on the Hallmark movie formula. If you enjoyed this video, please, of course, give it a thumbs up. If you want me to talk more about specific genres and their formulas, tropes, and conventions, please give this video a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. And, of course, if you liked it, please subscribe. And if you want to read more, there's sources linked in the description below to find out how to turn your book into a Hallmark movie, because, again, a lot of them are based off of books. I am your friendly neighborhood sassy blonde writer, and please like and subscribe. Hopefully I'll be back to more regular-ish content soon. Yeah, if you like my t-shirt, please buy it on Redbubble. Always, or don't. And of course, happy writing.